Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to the lab. This is experiment number 7, and today's guest on the show is
Seven's a good number.
7 is a good number.
Yeah.
David Graham, one of my good buddies, works with my wife, actually. That's how I got to meet him. But tell us a little bit about yourself first and foremost, David.
Thanks for having me, brother. I'm chef by trade. I sell furniture for fun.
So how long have you been in the chef business? How long did you do that?
20 years in restaurants.
It was 20 years?
Like 19 and a half years. But yeah, you round up a little bit as 20.
Amazing years.
Some of them, yeah.
So what got you over into the furniture then? I mean,
I left a job that I wasn't happy at, took a 3-month vacation, and somebody I knew got me selling furniture.
All right. So how do you like selling furniture now?
It's not as much fun as you think it is. I mean, think about how much fun you think it is, which doesn't even seem like that much fun. It's less fun than that.
So don't sell furniture.
You make good money.
Well, my wife begs to differ.
Oh, she does pretty well. I mean, I do better than she does, but she does pretty well.
Well,
And
that's
she's
not always true.
Fun to work with.
Yeah.
She used to be my boss,
Yeah, that's awesome. My wife used to be his boss.
briefly. I was still better than she was.
We'll leave that up for debate. Well, thanks for coming on the show today, man.
Thanks for having me.
I know we didn't have a whole bunch that we had listed out that we were going to talk about, but we were talking earlier today before we got over
Yeah,
here.
I'm sure you're going to start getting into crazy talk.
Yeah, we're going to get
and
into
I'm
crazy
ready.
talk here. Yeah, we already started a little bit before we got here, so we're going to continue on with the crazy talk. And just to let everybody know a little bit about Dave, Dave is a very scientific type of guy. He loves, factual evidence, no anecdotal stuff. Like, he's all about the real thing. When I first met him, I believed in more of a theory of the flat Earth. I mean, of the round Earth. Flat Earth. Where am I going?
No. You thought the Earth was flat, and there was no evidence to show that it wasn't. Anyone that thought that it was round was out of their mind because you watched too many YouTube videos about people talking crazy.
I went down the rabbit hole on flat Earth.
I agree. They
believe me.
sound like they know what they're talking about, and they use science jargon as if they're actually saying something important, but they don't. It's not.
Yeah.
The Earth is not flat. I hate to break it to you.
Oh,
I'm
he
glad
broke
you
it
came
to me
around.
now.
Yeah, I'm glad you came around.
We got to a couple points that one of them was about the North Star and South Star, and if you're smart enough to take those two things, you can figure out for yourself too, and you just come to figure
On a
like,
flat Earth, the stars would not be different in the southern hemisphere than they are in the northern hemisphere.
So, Dave kind of brought me back.
Which they
out of
are.
that. But one of my other buddies that we actually had on the show the other day, Jonathan, he sent me over this video. It's about the pyramids. I sent it over to you, and I know that you watched a little bit about it.
Yeah, some of it.
So it was about a different way that the pyramids were built, a different theory, and it goes back into like the 1980s that this guy figured this out, and they denied it. But basically, they did it by making cement and pouring forms.
That's the theory.
Yeah.
Rather than quarrying natural stone and hauling it and stacking it and building it, they basically, this video posits that they poured concrete into molds, and that's how they built.
What are your thoughts on it? Do you think that's more of something that could be more accepted in our scientific day, or?
No, it's certainly not impossible. And there's evidence around the world of ancient cultures using artificial stone. It's not well known how they created that artificial stone, but there's good evidence for it. In other cultures other than Egypt and all around the world, we don't know how they found that out. If they did or didn't, it's certainly up for debate. There's evidence both ways. But making concrete, if they had that technology, is certainly an easier way to do it than quarry millions of pounds of stone and haul
where it
them.
doesn't make any sense of that, even with today's technology, we couldn't have made that happen.
Sure you could. It just takes a lot of work.
Well, I mean,
Don't
like
underestimate human ingenuity, man.
It's not human ingenuity; it's the mechanisms and the mechanics that we have to do the things
Listen,
with.
if you want to do something, you can figure out a way to do it. It may
I
not
agree.
be an easy way to do it or an effective or efficient way to do it, but you
So
can
if
do
I can
it.
fly off of a building.
No, that's not what I mean, bud. That's not what I mean.
But you just said that.
No, what I mean is the whole theory about, like, it's not even a theory. It's an estimation based on some writing that the Egypts, put down into stone or whatever. But this whole idea of quarrying and laying a stone every 3 minutes and transporting the stone from the quarry miles and miles to the construction site and all this. Nobody was there. They don't know if that's true or not.
What boat did they use to carry such heavy
Didn't have to
things?
be on a boat, but it could have been on a boat. That would have been an easier way to do it if you could make that work. Listen, what I mean is this. Ancient Egyptians didn't even have the wheel, but they had time and they had manpower. And if they wanted to do something, they could figure out a way to make it happen. You know, they didn't have the kind of technology that we have today, but they weren't stupid. They had a very sophisticated culture. They had lots of knowledge over the years that accrued, just like knowledge over the years that we have accrued. They build on knowledge of their ancestors, and then they continue to pass that knowledge on generation after generation, and those next generations build on that. And it doesn't have to be sophisticated technology. They don't have to have levitation or aliens or spaceships.
So the aliens did not build the pyramids.
Right. If you and I
could swore they did.
Right. If you and I could get, 20,000 people together, we could build a pyramid. It wouldn't be easy and it wouldn't go quickly, but we could do it.
I want to talk, because you said from the technology and understanding of their ancestors. And for us, we understand like the Egyptians, that was like kind of like the cradle of everything that really started to come forth as far as science and mathematics and
Sort of, yeah,
one
of the
understanding.
places,
So
yeah.
like for us to try to understand, it's very hard for the normal mind to think that there was something before the Egyptians that they would take.
There certainly was. Yeah.
Well, yes, I agree with that. But as far as like knowing like what their science and mathematics skills and their say engineering skills were capable of, like what
Right.
were they able to like? It's
So
kind of
a
hard to wrap
less,
our
a
minds
lot
around.
less of those things, and more about just surviving, not as an individual, but as a community.
Okay.
So, we all started as hunter-gatherers, right? That's human beings started that way, where every
caveman.
day, all your time was finding something to eat, finding something to drink, and finding a place to
Let's go back to
shelter
that.
in where you're not going to be attacked by, saber-toothed tigers or whatever. As we got better at harvesting resources, which involved the development of technology, stone tools was the very first sort of technological development. As we got better at finding and harvesting these resources, we had more free time. What do we do with that free time? We sit around and think about cool shit to do. And that's
Well, at
how
least I hope
technology
you do.
starts to develop. So, stone tools were the original technology over hundreds of thousands of years. That technology developed into very sophisticated instruments. These people had a whole wealth of knowledge about how to build very sophisticated and very specific tools to accomplish specific tasks.
Right.
And they had the time to invent that technology, and then the time to learn how to produce that technology, and then develop their skill at producing that technology over a lifetime.
Because that's the only thing they had to worry about. I mean,
Right. Well, I mean, they had a lot. They had more to worry about than you and I do.
But in a sense, I mean,
But it
like,
helped their lives, and that's why it was important to
if
them.
everything is that they did was for survival and for life,
Right.
then their productivity and
Right.
their ingenuity actually grows at an exponential rate as compared to, say, me and you. We get whatever basically we want given to us through technology that other people created. We don't have to go and do it ourselves.
Right. If you
And
had to
in
invent a
sense,
computer, you're shit
Yeah.
out of luck. It's
Yeah.
never going to happen.
Makes us lazy, and
Yeah. Well,
and-
it doesn't.
well, it makes us lazy.
It gives
if we
us
don't-
time to do other things. We don't have
Well, a lot
to invent
of-
a computer.
A lot of people will go a lazy route because
Some
they don't
people
have to
do,
do it.
sure.
and,
Sure. But
me
who
and you
kno-
are a little
who-
bit different.
Who knows what
we-
they might do, who they might influence or in what way. If someone just wants to sit around and, play video games all day, or if someone wants to go out and bust ass all day,
Sounds like a socialist type.
it's
of
no
guy.
one's place to say one's better than another. We're lucky we have the privilege to make those choices.
Yeah.
So the next big step in technology was agriculture.
Yeah.
Somewhere along the way, we started to learn that we can use certain plants to replant them and grow them, and then get better at that, so we have constant access to food.
Right.
If we can control the way plants grow or where plants grow, we constantly have access to that food. That gives us much more free time than we already had. And then we start developing culture and structure and engineering, architecture. You know, we have time to sit around and develop myths and legends and try to explain the natural world around us.
Are myths actually like developed through that, or myths like stories that are been passed down?
It's the same thing. Yeah.
I mean,
so,
I haven't developed a myth.
So
I'm just saying.
when these cultures had time to sit around and be lazy, basically, they would ponder the natural world around them. What is a star? Why does it rain? What is thunder? What creates the waves of an ocean or the winds that you feel or whatever else?
Yeah.
And so they tried to explain those things. The way they explained it was through myth, which is basically somebody made up something to explain it, not based on any real evidence, but that's what culture is. That's what develops culture. And then you get different cultures in different places and different myths and all that stuff, and then you get the mixing of them and the diversifying of them and all those kinds of things. That's what created modern civilization is agriculture, to have enough time to sit around and develop further technology than just hunting tools or food preparation tools, so that you could build permanent structures. You have a place to live and settle. You have constant access to food. You don't have to worry about, can I kill an animal today to feed my family or not?
You definitely can, though. Let me ask you a quick question on that.
Lucky.
Then.
Yeah.
So agriculture was one of the largest steps in our society for today, as far as human beings go.
I think it's a very big step. Yeah.
Probably the top 3. What do you think? What do you see in the future as far as like what might be our biggest catalyst to get us to the next level? If you can even answer that, I don't know if.
So it's always about resources. So if you have good access to resources or a bounty, if you have plentiful resources, then you have that leisure time. That leisure time is going to lead to whatever it is, whatever you endeavor into, or whatever a culture endeavors into. It doesn't have to be just an individual. It could be a group of people.
Right.
As long as our culture has access, bountiful access to resources, clean water and food, shelter, it's going to be technology. It's going to be electronics technology.
Do you think it's technology that's going to develop us, or the development of technology to further mankind as far as just being here on this earth? Like, let's take like Elon Musk.
Some of it
right
will.
now.
Yeah, some of it will.
As far as where he's wanting to literally live on Mars.
He's working on it, yeah.
And he wants to go himself.
Yeah, I signed up for the very first Mars program.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I put my name is on that list, and a bunch of other government lists, but that's one of them. Yeah.
The other government list will leave unnamed.
Yeah, when you look up, how does a fission bomb work? I'm sure your name goes onto a list somewhere. I'm just curious.
Just got a curious mind.
Yeah,
that's it.
So it will be like, if we continue on the course we're on, it will be technology, and it will be technology that we can't even imagine. So at the very base of it would be things like, you talk about Elon Musk. So Neuralink, familiar with Neuralink, right?
Yes.
He's developing hardware that can be implanted into biological organisms. And then use software to augment natural abilities.
Right.
So if you're blind, eventually we'll have a technology we can put in your brain to help you see. If you're deaf, same thing. Then it will become, so the genesis of it will be to help people with disabilities. But then it will become, we all have a microchip on our brain that directly accesses the internet. Right?
Right.
And that can communicate with all the other microchips in everybody else's brain, so that we can communicate without having to speak to each other or be in each other's presence, in the same way a cell phone works today.
Yeah.
If you lived 200 years ago, trying to imagine the technology we all carry around in our pockets would seem like magic.
Oh, yeah.
But we all have one in our pocket every day, and then we're so reliant on it that people can't even get along without it. When you lose your phone, you freak out.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just 10 minutes of not knowing where your phone is. Like, even sitting at home, like, me and Diana will both do this. Like, we get up to go to the bathroom or something, and we're looking over, like, where's the phone? It's like you even got to have the phone to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, but taking a shit while playing games on your phone is so much better than taking a shit and reading a magazine.
I agree.
Yeah, it's so much better. Or watching a YouTube video or whatever.
Yeah, I learned about cryptocurrency. That's my crypto time.
Yeah, I know your cryptocurrency stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I go and do that. But do you think it's the best idea to move in that direction as far as like say that we're trying to cultivate life on a different planet now, like which is kind of people see it in different ways, and I take it in two ways. So like one is that you're trying to prosper and grow from where you're naturally at.
Right.
Two is a backup plan.
Right.
And so where I lie at is I want to cultivate where I'm at the most. Like if where we live is not destroyed, if where we live still has plenty of resources that we can continue to do and thrive and be
For
even
now.
further to where
Right.
we are, why aren't we paying attention to that rather than trying to go to somewhere else because we destroyed this and we're done?
The most simple answer to that whole question is profit. But let me break that question down a little bit. So
I understand that one.
there's no such thing as the best, right? There's no such thing as is it a good idea or not.
Hang on, time out. My wife called me the best.
Well, she lied to you. I'm sorry.
Son of a...
You're pretty good, but I don't know about the best. So if you say, is it the best idea to do this or that, that's you can't answer that. There is no best, right? What's best for you is not best for me. And what's best
Agreed.
for people in South Texas is probably not best for people in New Hampshire or New Delhi or whatever it is.
Right.
So to say that something is the best is not, I don't think, something that you can say. Now you could ask, is it a good idea? Is it a worthwhile venture? Should we spend money on it? Should we invest into it? Is it safe? Those kinds of things. Those are better questions.
Okay.
So-
I see where you're going with them.
Technology is always developed in a vacuum, right? It's some engineer sitting around in a laboratory somewhere going, I think I can accomplish this or that, but he doesn't understand, or she, doesn't understand how eventually that technology could be used, right?
Purpose. Your purpose may not be somebody else's purpose.
Anything can be turned into a weapon in one way or another, even if it's information or knowledge. Anything can be used for ill-gotten gains or well-gotten gains. Technology can take us leaps and bounds into the future and benefit all of the human race, or it can destroy all of the human race. And it's all about how we use that technology, how do we interact with each other, what are our values, how do we relate to
It's not
other people, other cultures.
So like how you just said, which I agree with, is that it's not the technology itself that defines whether if it's just use the words good or bad.
Yeah, technology
I don't believe
is not
in good
good
or bad.
or evil.
Yeah, it
just
doesn't
is.
have a side, and it's us. It's the person behind the technology or the group
Right.
behind the technology
Right.
that will consider it to be or transform it into good or evil, however you see it.
And then you talk about Elon wanting to go to Mars and
Yeah.
stuff. As long as we continue to use
I mean, it's not evil. What he's doing is not evil.
unreplenishable resources on our planet, which we do all day, every day, as a culture of 7.5 billion people or whatever it is now, eventually those resources run out. There's not enough. I mean, there are people starving in the world right now. Like, we don't have it figured out here and now. We can't grow enough food for everyone or harvest enough food for everyone. Not everyone has electricity. Not everyone gets an education.
Well, and see,
And eventually,
this
beyond
is-
all those cultural things,
see-
the Earth won't be here anymore. And if we want to continue to live, we have to go somewhere
you
else.
stated a bunch of things that rely on one thing and only live for only one thing, which you said earlier. Profit.
That's a big reason why there are people starving in the world. Sure.
So it's not the point of that. We can't make that happen, or that the Earth can't produce that for it to happen. And like you said, human ingenuity. If we only have this much space to make something happen, we can always figure something out.
If we
can
had
figure
different
things out.
systems in
Correct.
place, the
Yeah.
Earth could handle it.
Yes, I agree. So
But those systems that we would develop or put in place
would cause
would have to
something
stop
else.
poisoning the planet in order to accomplish those
Well,
goals.
with every great deed that is done, there's always the exact same magnitude on the other side. So in other words, like if you do something at this great a scale,
Right.
this great a scale is gonna be there is that on the negative side. It's always equal. It always balances. So no matter what you do, and it just depends. And that's my own thought and theory. It's not a factual thing that happens.
I think for the most part, you're probably right to some degree. I don't think that has to be the way it is, though.
It's
I
not
think
that
you can
it's
you
just,
can
it's
raise
just what
animals and
happens.
crops without poisoning the soil and the land. You can have disposable products without plastics filling the ocean. You can harvest fish for food without fishing them to extinction.
I agree. But see what I'm talking about though, like so to implement those, like what a lot of people understand, and I'm not gonna get into this a whole debate about what side of government you believe in and what not, but like
I believe in anarchy.
So if you believe in anarchy, just hit up Dave. What's your phone number?
We'll start a revolution.
But in all seriousness, like what people want to say, like a socialist society, like of making all this stuff capable,
Right.
like exactly everything.
Sounds
we talked
like a
about.
good
Sounds
idea,
like
doesn't it?
Great idea. Now, like what I was talking about earlier, as to where whenever you have this much on one side that is great, you have the exact same opposite negatively on the other side, which for our counterbalance would be giving up basically our freedoms. People telling us that you can't do it this way. This is exactly how it's going to be. We are not going to give you a rope to even pretend like you can, do it any other way. Like this is how it's going to be, almost like a
Right.
dictatorship in a way.
Right, but that's why
and that's what it kinda
revolutionaries
takes.
are so revered and in every culture that has ever existed.
But do you think that like something like that could exist without something so extravagant as a socialist type of system or
I think-
dictator type of system?
I think as long as you have groups of people together, and it could be even 10 people. If you put a group of 10 people together to try and accomplish a goal, someone's going to take that leadership role. Somebody.
Oh, somebody always does.
And then somebody's
There's a-
going to take that follower role. And then there's going to be people in between, one way or the other.
There's a theory about that of like in a work setting as to where everybody that works around, say you're on a multi-level floor, you're on floor 4, and at a floor 4, there's one person that steps up to be what you'd call the overachiever, the teacher's pet, the person that goes above and beyond to make his job well known.
Right.
Everybody on that floor now, their performance rises because they are now standing behind somebody.
Right. And that could be one consequence, but it doesn't always have to be a positive thing.
No, it doesn't have to be. So that was in a.
If your leader
In
is
a positive note.
a crazy person
So, but
that
like,
wants to tell you to drink the Kool-Aid and share your wives and all that kind of stuff, then
but like you said, people
things
will
can get
follow
bad.
a leader. So if one stands out and stands up, it's not necessarily like are they good or are they bad. They're not to say that we're all this way, but and I don't want to say the word dumb, but we'll follow as human beings. We will follow whatever the lead is, whether
a lot
if
of
it is
people
good
will.
or bad.
A lot of people will. Yes.
And so that that theory alone of like no matter where it's implemented at, somebody will follow the one person that stands up. Like you said, if you got 10 people, somebody's gonna stand up and be like, hey, I think I've got the greatest idea. I think what I'm gonna do is gonna be better. We can all work together. We can do it this way. And it sounds great, like we always say, but then
What doesn't even go that simply? Normally, there wouldn't even be a conversation about it. Normally, it's just one
Just a
person
takeover.
sort of takes charge because they have that natural leadership ability, and other people
don't.
just follow them.
Yeah.
That leader doesn't have to say, "Hey, I'm going to be the person that stands up and says, "Hey, let's go accomplish this goal or that goal, or this is how we're going to do it, or this is how we're not going to do it."
So don't get mad whenever a leader stands up and wants to do something, and you want to complain at him. Oh, why do we got to do it your way? Did you stand up? Did you try to take a lead? Did you try to go in a direction that you thought the people wanted to go, or the thought, or the idea?
There's always a choice. You always have
Yeah.
a choice to resist. You always
So-
have a choice to
But don't hate
fight
the
back
person.
or
Man,
whatever.
that's happened so many times when somebody wants to stand up in a
People
group.
love hating. They love
And then
hating.
it's just like,
Well, and
well, why do you think your idea works? Well, Did anybody else present
It's
one?
just like you're saying.
No.
It takes so much less energy to sit around and be pissed off and complain than it does to actually stand up and do something.
Oh, yeah.
Most people don't want to put in the energy to affect change, even in their own lives, even in their own family.
Change your underwear, though,
Much
please.
less in their own culture. So, you know, we have, 330, 340 million Americans in one of the largest countries on the planet right now. How many of those people have anything valuable to contribute to anything?
I've never taken the survey.
I'm going to say, listen,
Artie, did you take that survey? No.
other than being like a good mother or a good father or a reliable employee or something like that, I'm not saying they're bad people. What I mean is this. They're never going to take us further than we are today.
Right.
I'd say 90% of those people, maybe 95% of those people.
So you'd consider more or less of the product of today.
No,
Well, I mean, literally,
95% of the
not in a bad way.
95% of Americans
They're the product
are
of today.
not going to move us into the future in any significant way. They might be great mothers, great fathers, great grandmothers, grandfathers. They might be awesome spouses. They might be good friends. They might be reliable, hardworking employees. Yeah. They might, not saying they're bad people. What I mean is this. They're not going to create something new that's going to move us into the future.
Well, I agree with that.
That takes radical people with radical ideas.
And I think it's actually a lot smaller percentage than that because so many people have great ideas and great thoughts that only get so far, or that only are with their friends. Or you can even, I'll even go as low, and I don't mean low in such a way that is a negative, as like taking a painter that just, like whenever he puts on his canvas is just amazing, where people get inspired by.
Right.
Like that doesn't even get the recognition. And you take like Michelangelo, like now that
right.
like something like that, where it was inspiring and inspired and created a different type of art throughout the ages, like that moved it.
Right.
All right. So we still have those, like even those smaller amounts that we're not accounting for. And I think what you're talking about is more or less of people that a lot of the viewers will see as like, the people with money that are able to, put forth these inventions, and people that want to push life in a certain direction for their own benefit. There's very few people out there that actually have the capability. They're more stressed about their work life, their personal life. They got kids. They're dying of cancer.
Sure.
There's so much,
Yeah.
and so they do not think
Well,
about
let me ask you,
what can they bring to the table.
Well, here's what I would say. We're all just people, right? It's very easy for me to sit here and say, I've got bills to pay. I've got a job that expects a certain amount of hours of me. I've got a girlfriend I have to spend time with, and her kids that I owe time to, and friends and family members that I owe time to. Well,
it's a want.
Here's what I'm getting at. We can all sit here and tell ourselves and tell each other why I don't have the time or the energy or the skill or knowledge to do something new, right? And you were talking about craftsmen. You were talking about, people that produce our products or show up to work every day and that kind of. I love craftsmen. I am a craftsman. I went to a trade school and I applied that trade for 20 years.
I used to build
tables. I have the ultimate respect for people that work in a trade, especially with their hands.
I know.
Because you're not relying on a machine to do your job for you.
You're relying on your knowledge.
You rely on your knowledge and your skill, and that skill is in your own 2 hands and your own 2 feet and your own 2 eyes and your own 2 ears and your brain. And it takes, to learn a trade and to get good at it, to get to like a professional or expert level, takes a huge amount of dedication.
10,000 hours.
It doesn't matter. I think it's way more than that. I don't believe in the 10,000 hours thing.
I would say a minimal for average
10,000 hours. You're probably pretty good at that thing. If you want to be an expert, 50,000 hours, 100,000 hours.
I think it could be done in a shorter time.
I've cooked for well over 100,000 hours, maybe 200,000 hours, maybe even more than that. I can't even tell you how long.
Well,
and And
things always grow and evolve.
I don't know it all. Haven't seen it all.
But new
Can't,
techniques come out.
That's exactly
New
what I'm talking
hardware
about.
comes
This is
out.
what I'm getting at, Dustin. So
You get it, Dave.
what happens when you get good at a skill, get good at a trade, you start to develop your own way of doing things.
Right.
The way that you weren't taught, the way that you haven't seen anybody else do, and that's brand new to you. And if you do that in the right way, not only can it be very rewarding, but what can wind up happening is you create something brand new that adds to an industry, that adds to a wealth of knowledge, that adds to culture.
Because you never know where it's going to go.
That's right. Just like when you develop anything, you don't know where it's going to go. You don't know why and how it's going to be used in a bad way or a good way.
Right.
It just is that thing.
At that point in time. And that's it.
Yeah, but then somebody takes that and then they add to it themselves, and then somebody takes that and adds to it themselves. That's how you have this evolution of culture, this evolution of technology, this evolution of knowledge and skill and everything else. Like, I'm a cook. I'm just an old, grumpy,
He's a great cook.
shit-talking cook.
Shit talking, yes, but he's a great cook.
I was taught in a very old school way when I went to trade school, and that the way of doing things was like 200 years old when I was taught it. But I'm glad I was taught that way because I learned the very basics, and I learned the history, and I learned the old school way, so that when I started to develop and started to be really skilled, I knew the history, I knew the basics, I knew what had been done, and I knew what hadn't been done.
Right.
And then I could go out and play and experiment. Yeah. It's like you can't just...
You have to have the foundation.
Right, you can't just sit down at a piano and write a concerto, right? You have to learn the basics of
First
piano
you have to learn what that word
before
is,
you
'cause
write
I have no idea.
a symphony. You have to learn the basics. And it's the same in any trade. And that's why I love trade skills so much. And I recommend to anybody, especially young people, you talk to kids, and everyone likes to ask, what do you want to be when you grow up, right? And a kid will say, I want to be an actor. I want to be a race car driver. I want to be a president, whatever it is. No kids ever say, I want to be the best welder anybody's ever seen. No kids say, I want to revolutionize architecture or engineering. No kids ever say, I want to get a theoretical physics or mathematics. Kids don't say that shit. You know why? I'll tell you why.
No, I'm going to tell you why. Because they're always taught from a very young age to get a good job that pays you good money that has good benefits. So the number one things that they look at, and you'll ask a kid, what do you want to be? Well, in their mind, their imagination, they want to be a certain thing. I always wanted to be an astronaut. When I was 6 years old, I wanted to be an astronaut. It wasn't for the fact of I thought I was going to make money.
I thought space was fake.
Space is always real. But I wanted to be an astronaut because of the exploration, like the unknown. People don't go over there.
Fun.
I wanted to. But when I was 11, you asked me what I wanted to be. There were three things that came up. Still an astronaut, a lawyer, or a baseball player. Baseball was my middle ground.
You're reinforcing my point.
Yeah, baseball was the middle ground of that I could have fun and make a lot of money doing.
Right.
Lawyer was, I knew that lawyers made money. But I also loved, which I found out later on in my life, I love talking and combating, and my phone's going off. Sorry.
What is that, Jurassic Park theme or something?
No, man, that's just like floaty butterflies. I have no. It's on the Samsung. I have no idea.
So let me answer the question.
Well, I was getting pretty close.
I think you're partially right. I do agree that kids are taught you're gonna have to grow up and get a job. You're gonna have to make money to raise a family and all those things. Plus, that's all they've ever seen. Right? They haven't met anybody that didn't do it that way.
My dad worked his ass off to provide for me, and that's all I saw. That's where I got my good work ethic.
You want to know why
work ethic?
Why there's a 10-year-old that, like any 10-year-old's never going to say I want to be a theoretical physicist or a mathematician.
They're not around anything that portrays.
They've never met any of those people. They don't know how rewarding it could be. They don't know how fun it is. They don't know.
They're around their parents that don't tell them things
not only
like that.
Well, not only that, but everyone they meet, if they did have any interest in those things, because everyone they know knows nothing about that, they're going to discourage it. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying sit around and tell kids, hey, you can be anything you want to be. I hate that shit. I think it's the worst thing to tell a kid.
What do you think that?
Because a kid can't be anything they want to be. It's not possible.
Wait, hang on. Don't go too far off the reservation on thinking that they can be anything that they want to be.
I don't care if that upsets anybody, but it's not true.
Well, no,
so
I
you
know.
shouldn't say it to a child because they
Now,
believe you.
What do you mean? What do you mean about anything? Like, oh, I want to be an elephant, and like you think?
No. I mean real things.
Like what?
Like if you tell it, like if it.
Why couldn't a kid be anything they wanted to be? I am like actually
they can't.
super
Listen,
discouraged.
You
with
can't
you
be
right
a
now.
fighter pilot if you have shitty eyes, right? You can't be an astronaut if you have a heart disease. You can't.
Hang on, tell me. Okay, agreed on what you just said, but disagree on the fact that because they only can't be that because we put regulations out for you to be within
Those
that.
regulations
That
are there
mean,
for a good reason.
Yeah, because they only want the best of the best. It
Listen,
does not mean
not every kid can be a president.
But
Not
that-
every kid can be an astronaut.
Well,
not
I
every
agree.
kid can be a lawyer or a doctor.
I agree.
It just doesn't
All right,
work that way.
But what it sets them up for, when you tell a kid that they can be anything they want to be, you know what that sets them up for? They will try almost everything.
No, it doesn't.
No.
No.
My parents told me, you know what? I was in 7 different sports. You know why? My parents told me I could do
Here's
whatever I
why I
wanted.
hate it. Here's why I
I could
hate
do
it.
whatever I wanted.
Because when you tell a kid you can be anything you want
I'm
to
so
be
discouraged
and
right
just
now.
leave it at that, they
Well,
just
back
walk
it up.
They just walk away with, "Oh, I can just choose to be something and then I will be that thing."
I will agree with
Here's
you
what
on
we
that
should tell
standpoint
kids.
That you have to have
Here's what
a
we-
conversation backed
Well,
up.
here's
with
what
that.
we should tell
Go
kids.
for it.
We should tell kids that if there's something you're interested in and you work really hard at it and you practice a lot, you might be successful at it.
Sounds so discouraging. You
Why
might
is that
be
discouraging?
If you put in so much work.
Dustin, you know how many
Oh, I know.
young
but it
people
has to be about fun. You
I've
have to-
met that wanted to be professional cooks that just don't have
Hey.
what it takes and never will have what it takes.
You know what?
And you have to tell them, look, young man, young lady, I see your passion. I see your drive. You work really hard. You show up on time every day. You stay late. You work your days off. You practice a lot. You still don't have it. You're never going to be a professional at this trade.
I agree with that. But that's an adult.
Well, I'm talking, I mean, in a lot of cases, we're talking about 17, 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds.
Well, yes. By that time, they should start hearing
They
truths.
are adults.
Like
but
solid,
we should
slap in
tell
the
that
face
to
truths.
kids as well. When a child is 10
No,
years
you
old,
gotta-
you just tell them,
Ah.
you can be an astronaut. It's not true. You're filling
Well,
their
it
head
is.
with bullshit.
All right. Tell them, like, you can be an astronaut. Now, explain to them what it takes to be an astronaut. Do they know?
There you go. There
Explain
you
to them,
go.
what does it take? What does it
The
take?
kid
All right.
says, "I wanna
Hey,
be
you
an astronaut."
Let me sit you down. Okay.
That's what I'm talking about.
I got the pamphlet here. All right. This
Now
is
you're
what
on
we're
my
gonna have to
side.
go through. No, I'm not on your side. What I'm in between. I'm letting the kid know, like, hey, you can still do this, and I will help you get there if this is what you want to do. You can always be anything you want. I totally agree with that. Now, is there a certain limitation to certain things that, like, my eyes aren't perfect? That's why I couldn't join the Air Force. Well, that's not why now, but I mean,
I
originally
thought you wanted to be in the Navy.
that's where all the
A
gay
boat
guys
with a
are.
bunch of dudes. Yeah.
I was gonna go hang out with all the gay guys.
So
Offensive gay
that's how
guys.
I see things more like that. When a kid says, "I want to be an astronaut," I'm not saying discourage them. I'm just saying don't tell a kid you can be anything you want to be.
And then walk away.
And then when a kid says, "I want to be this, I want to be that," you should entice that. You should excite that feeling in
I
them.
agree with that. You
But
should
you
excite
should
that
also be
feeling.
very real with them about the kind of work that it takes to achieve those goals and help them get into the things that they're going to need to be into to achieve those goals if that's what they want to do. But if a kid says, "I want to be an astronaut," and you start saying, "Well, you better start practicing your math," and that kid hates math,
You better practice twice as hard.
encourage them, and then a month later they're going to be like, "I changed my mind."
Did somebody ever
know.
have to tell you that you were gonna have to work that hard to achieve anything?
No.
No. See, I was the same way. So every sport that I did, and I'm not sitting here to try to gloat about me, or we're not sitting here trying. Dave's not trying to gloat about. Well, Dave probably.
I
is.
worked fucking hard.
well,
to achieve the
not to
things
say
that I have
I
achieved.
I didn't work hard. Not to say that you didn't work hard. But what I'm getting at is like you didn't.
But
have
nobody
to be
told me how
told,
hard it was going to
because-
be. Yeah.
Well, you enjoyed what you did. Also,
Yes.
there's a huge difference. So like everything that I did when I played ice hockey from the age of 10 till I was 18 and got invited to go junior A and junior B, like I worked hard only because like I didn't see it as working hard. I saw it as me just perfecting my craft. I loved what I did. When I was in baseball,
Right. But you're talking about things that are in your free time. I'm talking about things as a profession.
well, they are your free time. Everything's your free time.
I suppose you're right about that.
Everything
I think
you get to choose
the
what you're gonna
difference
do.
the difference is this: if that's how you're making a living and paying your bills, it's very different than just doing it because it's a leisurely activity that you're into.
I agree, and that's why
Even if you love and enjoy it.
I got into crypto because I love that so much. I love it. It's something that I wanted to do. So we'll take that. That's my leisure
love
time.
food.
And I love food too.
Almost nothing I love on the planet more than
I'm a better
food.
cook than Dave, but nobody knows that.
You got a lot of practice if you want to be better than me.
I'm an at-home cook. My wife loves it.
The happiest, the best times of my life
Is when I'm cooking.
was being a chef, running a kitchen. It was also at the same time the worst times of my life.
Well, you can't, and I believe in that philosophy of like, if you love it that much, you, like I said, all right, so back to my analogy, this much greatness on one side, you still have the exact same amount on the other side. Which one are you going to focus on?
I don't think it always balances that way.
But
I
you
think
just
things
as
are
much
in heaven.
as much that you loved it and that it was great.
But they're
successful,
not equally
well,
or
no,
equally
they're not
quantifiable.
They're not equal. No, I'm talking weight wise. Like throughout a day where something is like.
Here's what I mean.
explain?
Let me break it down a little better. Here's what
All
I
right.
mean. I mean, I loved the men and women that I worked with. They were my family. They were my comrades. We went into battle together every day. We walked into that kitchen in a clean uniform, early ass hours every morning, and we worked our balls off all day until the wee hours of the next morning before we went home. And during that day, you were sweating and grinding and working your ass off. It was very rewarding. That was one of my favorite parts about it, the camaraderie,
I agree.
the skill, putting food on a plate, serving it to someone that loves it, and then they go home and fuck the shit out of their wife. That kind of shit. But then there's also the shit that you never get a weekend off.
Yeah.
You never have a holiday off.
You never get that time with
You
your
don't
wife.
get to go to a family member's funeral or wedding. You don't get to spend time with your wife or husband or kids.
But you're allowing other families to enjoy what you
Oh yeah,
don't get.
all the other families are going out to my restaurant to have a good time with their family, while I'm away from my biological family or like spousal family. But I'm also with at the same time my work family.
Yeah.
Those people are, at least when it happens properly, when you have a good crew.
Yeah.
Those people are
I
family.
got you. Yeah. I mean, I didn't work in a
But none of those
kitchen.
people were my wife, so there's a difference between that. While I love them,
I worked in
not
fast
like I love my
food
wife.
for 10 years, and the same type of camaraderie is in fast food if you have a good crew. And I totally agree with that. I mean, a lot of people these days, they don't understand, the significance of that. But a lot of what I learned actually came from, the fast food industry. The owner at the time when I grew up in San Angelo, I worked at Wiener Schnitzel, which was one of the top fast food restaurants in San Angelo. We were the number one Wiener Schnitzel in the United States, several years running, always top 5. And they used to come and video us for how we were able to do what we did, because we did shit differently. But we always had a great crew. We had people that believed in what we did and believed in each other
And supported each other.
And like, hey, if you got to stay, I'm staying with you. If you're going to clean the lot in the morning, you know what? Like, it's been a while since I cleaned the lot in the morning. I'm going to be here with you. I'll probably show up about an hour late, but I want to be there. You know, but you always had somebody that wanted to have your back. And that's the one thing that I loved about, the restaurants business is that the people around you got what you got. They felt the same way that you felt.
I love it.
But the bad thing about
I could sit here and talk to you for the next 18 hours.
The bad thing about it though is like when one falls off the wagon, and like if they can get another to fall off the wagon, oh my god, like it just starts a downhill fucking trend through the whole thing. Oh, and what I'm talking
it's not so much these days of my life, because I'm an old man now for that business. But back in my younger years, there was a lot of drug and alcohol
Dave's
abuse.
only got 3 swimmers left with about 24 hours.
And like you get out of work at 1 o'clock in the morning. You're going to a coworker's house and partying until 6 o'clock in the morning. You got to be at work at 8 o'clock in the morning. You do that 6 days a week, and you might sleep for a day on your day off or something like that. Not everyone would want to live their life that way. I don't recommend for people to live their life that way. That's the way I grew up in that business, and it was so much fun. You have so many experiences and stories to tell, and all, like when you come out of that, you're also, it ages you, much
about 10 years
faster than normal life.
Yeah, but you get the experience, and let's transition a little bit into the experience because that's all we've been talking about, really. But life is nothing more than experiences, and if I can get an experience out of something, just like how you're talking about, going through that, like falling off the reservation, going through deep diving, just jumping into something.
That's more what it was like. It wasn't falling off. It was like diving headfirst in.
Yeah, we're just going to dive headfirst in. We're going to see what this is about, because as a human being, you exist for, in my mind and in my philosophy of how I understand, I exist for one reason, and that is only for experience. That is, we don't have any other, I'm not going to say the word purpose, but we don't have any other, what am I looking for?
That's all you get out of life.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. So you may as well make it good.
I mean, the whole thing's an experience.
Yeah.
Experience. An experiment. I mean, that's why we're here.
You can do experiments with that experience. Yeah.
Yeah. We're doing one right now. This is Dustin Cameron experiment.
Well, thanks for having me, brother.
If you didn't know, this is the Dustin Cameron experiment. I don't even think I said that at the very beginning. I said welcome back to the lab. I was trying a new intro. Welcome.
Didn't work very well. You know what I'm disappointed by? You don't have shots for us while we're chatting.
Do I look like Joe Rogan?
No. No.
Hey, Artie, where's our bottle at? Artie doesn't know either.
You should have had
Artie.
If you're gonna have a chef on, you need to have drinks, like some food, but it has to be good food. Next time you have me on, I expect booze.
Booze. All right, booze. Booze for Dave is like liquor. It's not just any alcohol. It's liquor.
Yeah, there's beer, wine, and booze.
Beer, wine, and booze.
That's not just me. It might be a northern thing.
I guess it is a northern thing, like pop.
Yeah. What do you say, Coke?
Coke.
Yeah, it's soda for me.
Yeah, it's white and powdery.
Not that kind of Coke.
Oh!
All right, let's talk about some of your crazy shit. That's what I came here. I was all excited about.
Wait, what do you think?
Talk about something crazy, and I'll tell you
crazy?
why you're not right.
I can't even think of anything right now that you would consider crazy. You know. Hey, did you see about the solar flares that were supposed to happen yesterday?
No.
You didn't even hear about.
No.
Yeah, Artie was telling me, it's like, hey, so what's up with these solar flares that are supposed to hit? I'm like, what? But they were nothing major. I'm just gonna let you know that I don't have anything crazy anymore. You kind of like, believe it or not, like not knocked, but like you talked to me and like,
talk some sense into you.
No, you just kept talking and I just gave up. You know, it's like
no.
Like
you started to understand
almost.
that what you originally thought was
you were like Hydra. You just kept on going.
Not correct.
Oh, okay. You're like Hydra. Like you made me join your side.
You thought the Earth was flat. You tried to explain to me why it's flat, and I listened respectfully to what you had to say. And then
what he means by
Dustin,
respect is that he yelled at me, cursed at me, called me stupid, called me names, made me cry, pulled my pants down.
That was for something different. But that's what you get when you talk to a chef, man. And we're gonna scream and yell at you. That's fine. Call you stupid. That's how we show affection.
That's what my mom told me.
Well, you try to, I listened to respectfully to why you thought what you thought, and then I simply explained why that cannot be true.
What do you think that I have that's still crazy thoughts?
You believe in ghosts.
Oh, yeah. Heck yeah, I believe in ghosts. Ghosts are energies.
And chakras and
yeah, I believe, okay.
What kind of other crazy stuff? Like
you call it crazy, but they are energies. And all energy exists.
But when I say energy and when you say energy, we're talking about something
light energy.
very different. No, you are not light energy.
On the inside, yes, I am.
No, you're not. No, you're definitely not.
This guy. Phone going off again. That's gonna have to be a different freaking topic then.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to. I'll punch you in the throat with it.
Don't get mad just because I disagree with you.
Not getting mad. Well, you call it all food. Do I call your stuff foo-foo stuff? No.
I mean, but you can't.
I'll call it foo-foo if I want
the things
it.
I
no,
believe
if I believe
in
that it's foo-foo, it's foo-foo.
Are empirically substantiated.
I don't care about imperial sugar, all right?
And I'm not talking sugar.
No, we do have energies. You are energy, and I'll go into a little bit about this, and you can just listen for a second. Your energy. You are made up of nothing but energy. Your atoms vibrate at a certain level which vibration itself is energy. Agree.
Yes.
All right. So whenever atoms, so like what your major point is like at death, because I remember having this conversation, that consciousness itself, the energy of consciousness is actually born into life itself. So without life, you don't have consciousness. Is what I'm getting correct?
I think what I said was consciousness is a product of your
physical
biological chemistry.
Or the biological chemistry.
Yeah.
So it doesn't exist without the biological chemistry. That's where I oppose the idea that, the biological chemistry is what is the host for your consciousness.
Right.
So that way whenever you pass on, you die. Somebody shoots you in the head, you die. Your consciousness itself, or soul, meaning pretty much the same thing, is...
I think, most people mean the same. Yeah,
it's transferred on. Now, this is where everything is blurry and up to debate and everything else, is because we cannot say for certain what that energy truly is at its finest point, and we can't say where it goes and why it goes. I do happen to believe, though, that energy does continue to be on, because you cannot... No energy... What is it that I'm thinking of? That no energy is created nor destroyed.
Yeah, conservation of energy.
Conservation of energy. There it is. So if no energy is created nor destroyed, it is what is.
Yeah,
then
but you're taking a physics principle and applying it to a metaphysics principle. So the conservation
was still there.
Yeah, the conservation of energy is simply that energy, which is well defined in science, and not the kind of energy that you're talking about, cannot be created or destroyed. It just moves through different mediums.
Isn't all energy? I mean, whether if it is electrical energy, light energy.
Well, there are only three.
Other energy.
There are only three kinds of energy in the universe.
Electrical, light.
Only three.
And what?
There's the strong and weak nuclear force, and electromagnetic energy.
Okay.
They used to say gravity was an energy or force. Really, it was more of a force than an energy. But gravity doesn't technically exist, so it's been...
It's like a...
Yeah,
more
it's
of a
been
product?
removed. No, gravity's not a real force. Gravity is...
I saw something about gravity.
How we perceive the warping of space-time through relativity.
I watched this probably about a month ago on YouTube about like how it was time itself,
space-time,
that actually created what we consider gravity.
It didn't create gravity.
Gives the illusion of gravity.
Our perception of warped space-time is what made us think gravity was a thing, but it's not a real force, nor is it an energy. Gravity doesn't technically exist at all.
If you disagree with Dave, where can we contact you?
Well, if you disagree with me, read up on Einstein's general and special relativity. It's well documented and well proven over
Dave
the last 100 years. Dave
reads a lot of books. He does a lot of research. I've given up on debating. I thought I knew a lot of stuff, and then I met this guy.
So what it comes down to is matter warps space-time.
Right.
In a way that makes other matter attracted to more massive objects. But it's not an actual attraction through force. It's an attraction through a warp or a disturbance
through space-time.
Of space-time, which is the fabric of the universe.
Yeah, understandable. I got because I watched.
Is it possible to take a piss?
Yeah, you can go do that.
You can go have a piss?
Yeah, you can go do it.
Where's the pisser at?
All right, we're going to take a timeout. We'll be right back. So what do we leave off talking about here, Dave?
We were talking about Einstein.
Oh, Einstein. Oh, yeah,
How
we're talking about
gravity's not
gravity.
Actually real.
Gravity's weird, though. I mean, it is really weird to sit there and contemplate how we stick to the earth. And like then you think about how birds fly. Then you think about how, and this is, I'm not going to lie, this was like a flat earth type of deal. When you start thinking this way, you're like, if gravity is strong enough to hold, like rocks, or oceans, to where they're at, How in the hell is a bird freaking flying in the goddamn air?
Aerodynamics.
Well, and I
Also,
mean, you get aerodynamics.
Rocks aren't trying to fly.
But I mean, you know, when you, I'm gonna stop. I'm done. No more flat Earth for me. No more
Good.
flat
I'm glad. I brought you to the fucking right side of things. Yeah.
Oh, I mean,
Normally I'd tell people I'm run to the dark side, but in your case, it's the light side.
Water was my number one thing. Water was my number one thing on a flat Earth to a round Earth.
What's wrong with water?
It's nothing that something's wrong with it. It's just, all right, so if you took it from my own perception, like if you try to pour water on a ball, it just goes off the side.
Yeah, but you're talking about a tennis ball, not something the size of a
actually talking about a
planet.
soccer ball.
Okay. There's a big difference between that and something the size and density of a planet. And that's talking,
Right,
and we
so
get
that's
back into the
that's-
gravity, warping space-time, so that everything is attracted to that gravitational center.
So no matter where it's at, it will always stay where it's at because there's not a true, like when you get in space, there's not a true north-south.
There's no up or down
No,
or left
there's
or
a
right. Yeah.
Correct. All right, so, and I think that's what, I think.
Relative.
Relative. You're not my relative, thank God.
It might be someday.
Wait, you gonna marry one of my stepdaughters?
I was thinking about marrying you, to be honest.
This guy's gay. All right, so back on track. Man, you made me.
Yeah, there's a big difference between a soccer ball and a planet.
Okay, so no matter where you're at, because there's no north, south, east, or west, and I think that's where, as humans, we get confused because we're on an Earth, we're on a plane that we only know this plane. We don't know really anything else. We can kind of understand some space a little bit more than what we understand our oceans, but you know, we go by direction. So like, if I perceive myself to be in space, you know, and this is literally how it works for almost all people. You know, if you're in the northern hemisphere and you go above the Earth, you're more north. But you're not in north. You're in space.
No, and if you're on an orbital trajectory that takes you across the northern hemisphere, it's also going to take you equally across the southern hemisphere.
Correct. And so I think that's you know, mentally the perception of like how, like especially on flat Earth theories, like how we see it or how I used to also see it. You know, it's like, well, like how can it be, you know, all around and not fall off? But when you put water on a soccer ball on Earth,
Right.
we are already affected.
So, right.
We're not being, the water's not being affected anymore. It is now affected.
This is a lesson we can all learn about critical thinking.
Let's think critically,
So we
ladies and gentlemen.
all ponder why things are the way they are in our
I
own
ponder
in our
that
own
about
way.
you all the time.
Now, some people might be pondering how big is the universe and what is infinity and what is it like on the other side of the universe, or you know, what is a comet made of, or how does a star burn, or whatever. And then you could ponder the little things like how does lightning actually work, or why are we all held down to the surface of the planet, or you know, what makes an ocean current. Those are things that we can study here on our own planet. So even though we all ponder those things, we all ponder them in a different way. And some people ponder it in a way that I want, because I'm wondering, I want to know, therefore I'm going to do research, and that research is going to be based on real evidence. Then there are the people that are a little less dedicated, that are going to do research and watch a YouTube video from somebody that sounds like they know what they're talking about, but is really talking gobbledygook.
Gobbledygook.
And also is going to sometimes require learning a little bit of science so that you can figure it out for yourself.
Well, and you know what's so funny is that like during my time, I was back in 2017. I did both. Like if I didn't know a phrase, if I didn't have an understanding of what this meant, I tried to research. I tried to understand it. I tried to understand it mathematically, scientifically, historically. How did it pertain in today? Like I did that, and you know what got me into flat Earth. Excuse me. Was the simple conclusion of your mind whenever you look at things.
Right. It does seem flat. It certainly does.
Yeah.
But it's very, very big.
You know, like it was like, does everything have to basically be that confusing? Does everything have to be that complex? Could it be the simplicity of understanding that we understand how flat surfaces work here on Earth? This isn't working the same way that a flat surface should, and it's round, and so it has to be flat. I mean, lasers, and like I watched the other day about, you know, the reflection of light, of why you can't shoot a laser across a pond, 10 miles, and say that it's flat when it hits the same deal because of the reflection of light. Like,
it's going to bend, yeah.
You understand that it's going to bend with it, which makes it seem like it's flat because it hits the same point.
If you shoot a laser across the surface of the planet unobstructed,
it depends
on your point of view. It's not going to bend around the curve of the Earth. It's going to stay fairly straight. It's just going to become more diffuse.
It's the atmosphere.
Yeah, it will become more diffuse.
And it reflects.
It's not going to bend around the curvature of the surface of the Earth.
The light itself does not, no, but understanding those sciences, though, understanding light reflection, understanding how atmosphere can reflect light into a different degree to where, when it goes up this way, hits the atmosphere, and then comes back down, and you're down here, and it hits pretty close to where, you're at.
I think you're confused.
But
I think you're really confused.
Am I?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, go for it.
So listen, if I'm standing here, right, and let's say this table is this big giant. Let's say that from my finger to your finger, put your finger down. Let's say that's 100 miles, right?
Right.
If the Earth was flat, I could just see that 100 miles away from here to there, unobstructed. Mm-hmm. So unless there's a mountain or a building in the way, I could just wave at you 100 miles away, and you could see me. Now let's blow that up bigger. Let's say that's 1,000 miles away, right? That's like from one end of Texas to another.
Are we getting to the laser point? We're
getting to that. Now let's blow that up and let's say that's New York City, and over here is Hong Kong, right? Yeah. On a flat Earth, those two cities should see each other. Unobstructed. There might be a building or a mountain in the way, but unobstructed, they should see each other. Or you stand on the top of a mountain, you should be able to see any point on the face of the planet. But that doesn't happen. There's a good reason why it doesn't happen. And you want to talk about a laser. So if I point a laser across whatever distance, it doesn't matter what the distance is. It's not like that laser is going up and bouncing off some part of the atmosphere or anything else. That laser will become more diffuse through the atmosphere. In other words, it's not as focused. But the further and further away you get from the projection of that laser, the higher and higher above you it's going to seem to become. And it's not that the laser's pointing higher and higher. It's just that you're moving further over the curvature of the planet. Right.
But what's up with the refraction of it hitting the atmosphere and actually coming back down?
That's for more energetic light. That's for things like radio waves and microwaves and things like that.
Because what I was talking about was actually what I just watched it like last week, I think. But that was what they were saying, how you could get like basically a false reading on you doing a laser or something that's high powered light source going across, is that it's going to go across, and the curvature of the Earth is going to come down. And it's going to go, and it's going to seem like it's higher.
Yeah.
But at some point, like it hits into the atmosphere, basically redirects back down.
Let me ask you this.
And so like it would come like this.
What part of the atmosphere is it hitting? Because it's been in the atmosphere the whole time.
At the top end, like before,
from where it was initially projected, and everywhere from there until wherever else, it's in the same atmosphere the whole time.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, I may be wrong, but I thought there was like different densities of part of the atmosphere.
There are, yeah, but that doesn't really affect optical light very much.
But you said very much.
Very much. It can. So you've seen a heat mirage, right?
Yeah, and that was the other part that they brought up was the heat mirage.
Mm-hmm. That's the atmosphere affecting optical light in a way that you can perceive with your own eyes, right?
Right.
You're driving across a road out in West Texas,
And the heat.
and it looks like it's steaming, right?
Yeah.
Everything's wobbly over the top of the road. That's a heat mirage. That's because the density of the air is so dynamic at that very low area to the ground that it's actually bending optical light. It's a very small phenomenon, and through most of the atmosphere, optical light is not very well disturbed. But more intense light waves, like microwaves and radio waves, can definitely be reflected. So, you know what a long wave radio is, like a ham radio?
Mm-hmm.
At night, long wave radio transmissions travel a lot further because they're not being disturbed by the interference of high energy particles of the sun. It will also bounce off the upper limits of our atmosphere to carry on. So it reflects down over the horizon of the curvature of the Earth. So higher energy light waves are a little bit much more affected than like optical frequencies of light.
Don't believe in flat Earth.
Definitely don't believe in flat Earth.
That's where we got to with this one. Don't believe in flat Earth. I got a weird question for you. When it comes to understanding life and kind of seeing it how you want to through your own two eyes, do you see it as, and I know this is a kind of an out there type of deal, and I forgot the name of it. There's actually a name of like kind of like a first person shooter game. Like you're the only one involved. Like everything else, like in other words,
You're saying like I'm the only thing that's real and everything
Correct.
else is artificial, right?
Correct. You know what that name is? You know what that name is, Artie? We talked about it with Jonathan, I think, where like you're like the first person shooter game and everything else around you is artificial. You're the only thing that's real here. Like the whole gaming system of life is built around for you.
I don't know.
What was it? I forgot what it was. I started with an M, I thought.
I don't know what word you're looking for.
Megadouche.
But I'll tell you this. That's the only thing that you can really truly know is that you exist.
So,
you ever heard of Rene Descartes, right?
Yeah, I know Rene Descartes.
Cogito ergo sum.
Yes.
Roughly translated.
Translated? He's translated.
Is I think therefore I am. What that people take that the wrong way. And they use it for all kinds of bullshit.
What do you think?
It
What
means
do you mean?
one simple thing.
Okay.
Because I can ponder my own existence,
I must exist.
I must exist.
I agree with that. So
But
how do you
that
think
doesn't
other people...
that doesn't apply to anything else. Just because you and I are sitting here, my perception is you and I are sitting here having this conversation.
But that's my perception.
It may be your perception.
Correct.
The only perception I have is that I'm sitting here having this conversation with you.
So
And the only way I can define the world around me is through my own perception.
correct.
And the only thing I can say that's true about it is I exist in some way or another, but that doesn't mean that anything else exists.
So could we all be like first-person shooter game? Like every single... So basically, you're not fake, and he's not fake, and
Right.
they're not fake.
I think it's
but
pretty...
like we all are a first-person shooter game
Right.
where we assume
So
that
either
that
we're
is kind of
all
it.
having this crazy dream
highly
that's
possible.
so similar to everyone else's dream that we must be like in a tank in a simulation, right?
Yeah, simulation theory.
But then there are millions and millions of individuals all in the same simulation, like the Matrix, which is probably not likely, even though the universe as a whole may be a simulation.
And see, and I kind of see that as a huge,
When
huge
we all share the
possibility.
same experiences, you must say that there must be other perceptions having the same experience, other than my perception.
Right.
I'm sitting here having this conversation. You're sitting here having this conversation. We are sitting here having this conversation. You are real, and I am real.
We must perceive it that way.
That's the best assumption for
Yeah.
everything. Yes.
Yeah. It's just so crazy to when we get into these live talks like this. It's I don't know. Everybody's got their own different opinions and outlooks of how they think of themselves in this world, and very few people honestly even think of themselves in this world, like in the sense of how we just talked about. But I think it's very, very, very beneficial, very therapeutic to try to find that out for yourself. Of how do you determine yourself in this world? How do you see yourself? Why do you feel this way? Because the more that you understand that about yourself, the better that you can actually live through this life, no matter how you see it. No matter how you see it, as long as you can come to terms with yourself on how you agree that you perceive it, now you can actually walk through it because you're the one living it and perceiving it in that way. I
completely 100% agree with you, but for a different reason.
Okay, go for it.
So I think of like just psychological health. So we all have our own perceptions in the world. We all have our own life experience and upbringings and traumas and joys and everything else. I used to tell people in the restaurant all the time, like somebody would come in, they're having a bad day, and they want to go on the walk-in and cry, or they want special treatment because they've had some bad thing happen to them or whatever else. I used to all tell them all the same thing. You think your problems are worse than anybody else's problems? No. He has problems, she has problems, you have problems, I have problems. All of our problems are the same, and yours are no worse or better than anybody else's.
Agreed on that.
So stop being a little bitch and get back to work. Now, that is true on a small degree. It's not true on a large degree.
I was going to say, like,
but here's what I mean.
There's one thing I want to interrupt you for 2 seconds and get right back to it. The only thing that I do agree, everybody has issues and problems. Mm-hmm. And because somebody is coming out to what we'd consider whine about them. In my book, I don't try to be a whiner, but I am one to open up. I'm one to.
That's a healthy thing, though.
It's how
some people
I
don't
get
have
through
that
stuff.
in them.
So it's how I get through things. So it's just the differences of how people deal with their own bullshit.
Right.
And like your point of view is taken from.
Here's what I was getting at.
Okay, go for it.
I was just giving a little anecdote, and it doesn't apply to everybody, everything. It's on a small scale it applies. But here's what I mean. Every human being has struggles. Every human being has wants and desires. Every human being has pain and suffering. Every human being has shame and sorrow. Every human being has trauma and joy. And yes, some people's are worse or better than other people's, right? Like
perceived better or worse.
I didn't grow up starving and not having food or water or shelter.
Yeah, agree.
That's worse than my experience.
Agree.
But no matter what our problems are or what our struggles or traumas are, if you process things in a healthy way psychologically and stay mentally fit and healthy, you're more apt to overcome those sorrows and struggles and traumas and to be successful on the other side of it. And what that really simply comes down to is just taking the time to process your feelings and emotions.
Hardest thing for most humans to do.
In a way that you can come out better on the other side. It's not easy. Listen, dude, there are times in my life where I've known that to be true and not being able to accomplish it.
Oh, that's everyday life.
Without enough time for those wounds to heal.
That's everyday life. It is not enough to know. And I'm trying to think of who said this, and I'm almost positive. I want to say it was Jason Silva. Like, we live in a time and place in this world where it's not enough to know something, but how to do the things of what you just talked about.
Right.
You know that
I know I should do it that way, but I don't know how to do it that way.
Yeah, exactly. So now we are coming into this life time, or this time in our life now that where it's not just enough to spit off random facts and know things. It's a time that where we need to understand how to do these random facts that we research all the time. Like, yeah, you may know that, that's not healthy for you to do it that way, and to think that way. And the results, you already know what the results always are, but what are you doing to
there's also a dichotomy of those things because, like, we all know generally what's healthy for us or unhealthy for us, right? But we also know what's fun. And you talked about earlier, you're talking about life as an experience. Like, make it fucking fun.
Yeah.
Sometimes the fun part of that is not healthy. Like, it's fun to go out and drink a little bit too much and have a good time with your friends and talk shit and tell jokes and laugh but it's not good to do the same thing and then kill somebody on your way home, you know?
Agreed. There's consequences. Once again, the balance.
Right. I was a smoker. Smoked cigarettes for 20 years. I knew it was bad. Finally, I was able to quit. I started vaping nicotine instead. I like to have a cigar, you know, once or twice a week with a glass of wine or a scotch.
Yeah. Not bad.
It can't solely be about health, and it can't solely be about fun. There has to be a balance between the two.
Everything in
life.
life.
It's finding a healthy balance between the two that's important.
I agree. Even with your health as far as food wise goes, because me and my wife were trying to do. I said we went. I don't want to call it what it is because it's not a diet. Like when you say the word diet, people think you're trying to lose weight, and I'm not trying to lose weight. I know I'm good at where I'm at. It's about health. But we are doing the keto style type of diet to better our health. It's not for weight loss. It's not for anything like that.
Turn your bloody phone off.
Oh my gosh, it's my wife.
Put her on speaker. Yeah, put her on speaker.
Hey, what are you doing, babe?
Hey, nothing. What are you doing?
Just to let you know, you're on the
Dustin Cameron Experiment?
Hola, señorita. ¿Qué pasó? Are you at work?
So my wife called to interrupt our show. She knew we were doing a show.
She should be working right now.
My wife should be working, and yet...
Hey, get back to work. Get back to work.
I am always working, Dave. I don't know what
you look like you're sitting in a chair.
So, I will call you back when I get done. I just had to answer because it was you, but we're right in the middle of the Dustin Cameron Experiment.
Awesome. Y'all have fun.
All right, love you, baby.
I love you too. Bye. Bye, Dave.
You couldn't let her say bye to me? She was trying to say bye to me.
Hell no. She ain't going to say bye to another man.
I love you too, by the way. I love both of y'all very much.
David's been one of our... one of the best things that actually... I hate saying it. One of the best things that's actually happened to us since we got here. Dave's a really great guy. He's an asshole. He's a dick. He's everything you look for in a person that you want to punch in the throat but then have a beer with. So, hey, it works out pretty good.
Don't get mad because I call you out on your bullshit.
That's
That's how we all learn and grow. What were we saying before the old lady called? Oh, health. Health. There has to be a balance.
So I was talking about that we were doing it for health reason. We changed our and the word diet does not mean you're trying to lose weight. Just to let y'all know, the word diet just means what you intake. It just means what you eat. It is not a specific
drink.
It's whatever. I said the word intake, so that covered everything.
Yeah.
So, the word diet, get that out of your head that it means that you're trying
to be more healthy.
So everything, I do believe that everything does have a balance. You could be too vegan. I guarantee it because you ain't going to get some crap that you need out of veganism. I was vegan. You can be too much meat because guess what? You're not going to get enough fiber in your system to process some of that. And it needs to go through your poop. So
I think, food is my thing. That's the highest level of knowledge I have about anything. It's the thing I'm most dedicated to in my life. And I think the best diet is really simple.
Some meats and some vegetables.
It's fresh, whole foods with a great amount of variety. Simple as that.
Go to your farmer's market.
When you buy food, buy things whole. Whole squash, a whole melon, a whole onion, a whole chicken, whatever it is.
Not
right.
In a can. Oh, you know what's the worst thing I ever saw in my life?
Just unprocessed food with a great variety of it.
Canned chicken.
Yeah. You can get canned whole chicken.
I threw up in my mouth when I heard about it.
Sometimes canned foods are okay. I mean, canned foods can still be nutritious, especially when it comes to produce. But it's not as nutritious as just frozen. Eating what's in season and fresh and ripe. Is never going to be that nutritious.
Yeah, I agree. But
so
we're talking about a balance.
Well, if your diet is all about just being healthy, then what you really mean is nutrition. And the best way to do that is get a good variety of foods and eat them whole and fresh.
But nutrition, so when we talk about nutrition doesn't just mean that your body transforms and looks better. It means that your mental clarity is there, your energy is there, your thought process is there. All that has to do with nutrition.
Nothing
correct?
affects your experience in life more than your health, and your health is not dictated more than the food that you eat and the beverages that you drink.
I agree.
A healthy diet makes a healthy body, makes a healthy mind, makes a healthy life experience. And a shitty diet makes a shitty mind and a shitty life experience. It does. You cannot be on your game, on point, alert, turned on.
Go to work hungover and try
without
to
being
make some
healthy.
deals
Oh,
happen.
I love
Like
being hungover, though. I love being hungover.
I've never heard anybody say in their life they love being hungover.
I do.
Other than Dave. I
fucking love it.
I hate it. All right. I worked in the car industry. I sold cars for a couple years. The only 3-car day that I've ever had in my life was on a Saturday morning, and I had it all scheduled. Had it all scheduled, and I came in hungover as fuck, man. I was ready to die.
Yeah.
But I had 3 appointments set, and I sold every single one. And I was like, I had a hell of a day.
There is something about not specifically being hungover, but being
Kind of absent-minded in a way.
but no, not 100%.
Yeah, well, for me, it was a little bit more absent-minded.
through illness or poor decisions or whatever else.
Your whole life is
where
poor
you have
decision.
to, like, a lot of my life is poor decisions, yeah. But it's where when you find yourself in a situation, could be just adversity, really. It doesn't have to be, poor health or sickness or something like that. But when you find yourself in a situation where you have to face adversity, you have to overcome a challenge, I love that shit. I love it. Not only that, it makes you a better human being the more of that you do as opposed to less of it that you do. Because it makes you adaptable. It makes you thick-skinned. It makes you...
adversity?
It makes you verse in adversity.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, the only way you can get
And
that...
so sometimes
and
I just choose to punish myself
well, the thing
and
is,
wake up hungover, and I love it.
I think there's better ways to do it, and a lot of better ways are through the fears, right? Over the edge of fear.
Yeah, fear's a great motivator, yeah.
I mean, it's a great unmotivator. It gets people stuck in their recliners and not wanting to go do anything. But if you can get up out of bed and go face that small amount of fear and you accomplish it, you have no idea how much better your life feels and how much better that it will actually be.
So you're getting to one of my life's philosophies here now, Dustin, which is...
Punch life in the throat?
No, is put yourself outside of your comfortable fucking lazy ass box.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you can... If you're always
If you
comfortable,
just do
did
the
you ever
same
learn anything?
right. No, the answer is no. No, nor do you have any great life experience or any great stories to tell or like...
Anything of inspiration to pass on to
No.
somebody else?
No.
Like, you know what? We
You
went
got
mountain
to-
climbing butt naked.
Yeah. So one of my, to make it really simple, like something that everybody can understand is if I ever come across a food that I've never tried before,
I'm trying.
it goes in my mouth immediately. It's not a question of will I like it or will I not like.
We'll
Where does it
find out in a
come
minute.
from? What is it made of? Whatever it is. No, it's going in my mouth immediately. It's no question. It's going to happen immediately, without hesitation. And it goes back to this like, put yourself outside your box, make yourself uncomfortable, build a tough skin, grow a little bit. You never know what you might experience that could change
Leads to
your
the next
life.
thing.
Did I ever tell you about my one life-changing experience? I may have told you like in a
I don't know.
conversation
I figured
sometime.
you probably had a couple. And I'm
Well, I've
pretty
had a
sure-
few, but one that applies directly to what we're talking about.
I don't think you've...
So when I didn't grow up in a family that cooked a lot of, my family cooked. We always had home-cooked meals, but there wasn't a lot of variety of the food, nor was it very well properly prepared. And food didn't mean a lot to me growing up. It was just something that you did.
This is going to bother me.
You can't see me?
Can't see you.
Okay. So I grew up in restaurants for a few years, decided I want to go to culinary school. I went to a pretty hardcore culinary school. Part of that school was an experience where a chef instructor takes small groups of students to the restaurant in the school. And this is like a fancy gourmet restaurant.
Right.
And so I was in a group of like 5 students and a chef. And this chef happened to be a certified master chef. It's a different conversation. A bad motherfucker is what I'm talking about. I ordered a steak. The steak on the menu came with a slice of tournade of foie gras. Foie gras is like a fattened goose or duck liver, which I'd never had before, but I had my grandmother's like boiled and grilled shitty liver and onions that I hated my whole life. And so I thought I just hated liver. I'd never had it any way other than that.
Prepared correctly,
Right.
things are different.
Now here's the lesson. So when I ordered my steak, I asked the server, just leave the foie gras off of my steak. Thank you. And my chef instructor, unbeknownst to me, told the server, you leave that liver on his steak. And so it was served to me with the liver on it. And when I saw it, I scooted it off to the side of my plate. I wasn't going to say anything or do anything. I just wasn't going to taste it or eat it. And my chef instructor said to me, he goes, why would you do that? I was like, I don't like liver. And he goes, how do you know you don't like liver? I said, because I've had liver. I don't like it. He goes, did you have that liver? I said, no. He goes, well, how do you know you don't like that liver? And I said, well, I guess I don't. And he goes, look, man, this is what you're here for. You're here to taste, to have an experience, to learn, to grow so that you can be better
may
by
not
the
like
time
it.
you're done here. And that's exactly what he said. If you don't like it, spit it out. You're not going to hurt anyone's feelings.
But try it.
Or it could change your life. So I tried it, and it changed my life. It was the most delicious, succulent, melt in your mouth, rich and delicious little morsel of food I'd ever experienced in my life. Not to mention, you put a little bit of that on a big fatty slice of ribeye steak, nice and medium rare, and they both melt in your mouth. Now you're talking an orgasmic experience.
Yeah.
This, I remember, I'll never forget this moment for the rest of my life. It was a moment that went by that fast.
All moments, sir.
It went by that fast.
Oh,
And that changed my life forever. Forever. That's how fast it can happen. So try new things, man. Put yourself outside your comfort zone. Be a little adventurous. You don't have to take crazy risks. You don't have to hurt people. You don't have to hurt yourself, right? But like, what is it going to hurt you to try new food or new beverage? What is it going to hurt you to go dancing with your old lady, even if you don't like dancing, or to go camping for the first time in your life,
or to go long time,
to go to a new
camping.
city and have an experience there, or whatever. Like, whatever it is, there's so many degrees of how you can put yourself outside that comfort zone. So many different ways you can do that.
This right here
But
was...
if you're the kind of person that just sits around in your comfortable little box doing the same thing every day and you never do anything other than that, I don't know how you have any excitement in life.
It's almost like just give up.
I tried a new squash yesterday. I went to the farmer's market with Glory yesterday, and they had this squash or gourd. I think it's a gourd. I've never seen or heard of before. Couldn't tell you the name. She told me the name. I can't remember it. Never seen or heard of it. I know a lot of food.
Yeah, you do.
I went home. I cooked it 2 different ways. Wasn't my favorite thing,
Which way did
but
you
I
cook it?
tried it.
You fry it?
I fried it and sauteed it, yeah. Oh, I roasted a bit too, so I tried it 3 different ways. I never had it before, so I just wanted to see what, a couple different ways to do it. It wasn't great, to be honest. Wasn't great, but I tried it.
Yeah. So, the moral of this story is try some new shit.
Yeah, all
Get out
the
of your
time.
box. Stop
When
it.
you have
Like
an
this-
opportunity to do something new,
this
do
right
it.
here, this came up, and I was I've been wanting to do a podcast or do videos for like the past 5 years. I really have. I've always been afraid of my voice. I've been afraid of seeing myself on camera. Like,
It
it's just,
sucks to watch yourself
oh my
on
God.
camera.
Now I do it all. We edit videos together and it's like nothing. Like I don't give 2 shits about it.
You get
It is-
used to
is
it,
what it is.
but it's
my
still-
voice
it
is just a
still
voice. Your
bothers me.
voice is, I'm like, oh, he's got a voice
It's not my
too.
voice that bothers me. It's video that bothers me.
It's my laugh that bothers me.
So I know when Audie and I did our YouTube channel, all the cooking and stuff, I did all the editing of the videos and shit. And so we would
If you're doing it by yourself,
we
then
would
yeah,
have
that's
like
horrible.
say we do one dish, we have an hour and a half, 2 hours of raw video. I'm gonna watch that 2 hours at least twice, the 2 full hours. So that's 4 hours. And then while I'm cutting things down, editing it, I'm gonna watch another 2 to 3 hours.
That's
of
why Artie knows
things
how
over and
beautiful
over
my
again.
eyes are.
So to make a 20-minute video, I watched myself
5
for like
hours, 6 hours.
Yeah, 6
Yeah.
hours, say.
Yeah.
And it's excruciating.
Yeah. So that's why we try to do these videos. Like, well, we don't have to go back and do
The only
any
edit you
cuts.
got to do is like when we went to have a pee.
Yeah, oh, we paused that. We just hit play again.
Yeah.
So it works out pretty good. But the like getting out of my comfort zone to do this. Like I came in, like I was excited to do my first one. I was nervous, but I was super excited. And after I did the first one, after that first one, that instant, I was like, I can do this, and I love it. Like I went home. I told Diana, I was like, look, babe, I was like, I don't care what the fuck I do in life. I was like, somewhere throughout my whole life, somewhere in there, I was like, I'm doing podcasts. I'm talking to people. I was like, I don't even care if other people see it.
Yeah.
I was like, I would do this and record it and never put it out. I don't care. I was like, I love this. I love the whole idea.
I agree with you. I did love doing videos and that kind of. But you have a different like lane than I had.
Right.
Where this doesn't cost you anything.
No,
I was
because
having to spend serious
I got this
money on
awesome
every
guy
video I
that
made.
sits behind the camera that you're looking through right now. His name is Artie, and this is his equipment. This is his production. This is everything of him that he gives to me to help me out
You're
and do
just
what I do. And
sucking off his teat.
and it's a beautiful teat. So we appreciate you, Artie. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
I mean, it is awesome that if I have this capability, and that's another thing. It's like I didn't have to go buy equipment. I had a guy that knew what he was doing, knew how to guide me.
Listen, if you had to go and buy all this,
Yeah,
You're
he was walked in.
talking
He walked in. He was like,
20K?
"Oh, he's got some
20K?
money in here."
My guess, 20K. Is that
Is it-
about right?
Oh,
More than that. Okay.
Yeah.
You're
So-
shit out of luck. You're not getting this.
so like I got this at my disposal. I'm like, there is no reason. There's zero reason for me to at least try it.
I can't believe other people here don't take advantage of it. He obviously seems like he knows what he's doing, enjoys
Oh,
this
yeah.
stuff. I bet you could use
Well, he
this
went
for
to-
all kinds of things.
He went to school for it.
So you went to trade school as well?
I went to Kingsville, went to college.
For what? What was a degree or whatever?
So I did journalism.
Okay. Yeah, that's a trade.
Yeah. So that comes with understanding photography, videoing,
Hmm.
and everything else. So
Things I wish I knew something about.
yeah, I bet you do.
Yeah. Made YouTube videos for like over a year and didn't know shit about filming or production or editing. It was hard to learn.
It is. But if you really want to know something, you'll figure it out.
You will figure it out.
It may take time and money to do some of this stuff.
The kind of videos we were
Yeah.
doing did take money.
Well,
serious
and
money, but
of course, the more money you spend, the better equipment you get, the better production you get, the better quality of everything, the less time it takes, and the easier that things will flow. But
well, the better you get at something, the easier it becomes, the more proficient you get at it. Yeah. But then you start to, like I said, we master the basics, and then you start to play with your own style, right? You start to,
the old style.
do your own thing a little bit. That's when it gets really fun.
It does. Oh, well, I think I'm about ready to wrap this up. How about you?
Let's go drink some beers and have a
Go
shot.
do that. Oh, man. I am down for that. So, once again, everybody, I thank y'all for joining us. This is the Dustin Cameron Experiment. This was experiment number 7. And our host today, Dustin Cameron, with our guest today, David Graham. I appreciate you being on the show, man. I've been wanting to get you on here for a while.
It's my pleasure, brother. You know I
And-
love you.
Oh,
I
yeah.
appreciate you having me on. And maybe sometime I'll come on again and talk more shit with you.
Oh, yeah.
Or you get
we'll have to
Audie and I
Audie.
on.
Yeah.
Get Audie and I
Yeah.
on. We'll have a right good
Yeah.
chat.
He's got another good buddy that's in the food industry just like him. And
The second best chef in South Texas.
and them two together,
I'm the first.
of course. Them two together, though, with me, like it's very explosive. So we'll have to have you back on the show and get Audie on the show, and we'll have a
anytime,
grand
man.
old time. So
Anytime.
all right, till next time. See y'all later.
Thank you very much.